Hello, this is Dr. Jeff Kim, and I just had a chance to attend the 2023 Korean History and Culture Seminar for educators. I actually like to attend this very regularly because I learn so much every single time. So I've actually gone more than 1 year, and I highly recommend it. If you're interested, you can go to www.koreanseminar.org and learn more about it there. But what I wanted to do today was mainly to share my takeaways from this conference of potential lesson ideas. So what I sometimes like to do is actually, this is kind of the agenda that they shared. And then you can see that third column or fourth column that I created. It has ideas of how I might implement some of these ideas should I have the opportunity in the future. So let me go ahead and share a couple. The first is from Dr. Jennifer Jung Kim's presentation on the political development and economic growth of South Korea. What a amazing story of Korea's growth that was shared. And I thought what would be an interesting activity could be a timeline activity that students do on the democracy and economic story of South Korea. Like if they created that timeline, it could be a digital timeline, physical timeline, but a timeline activity where there's some key events that were covered in that presentations, and then further articulated in this activity that I might have students do. Another takeaway activity I'm pulling is from Dr. Susie Wu's presentation from California State University Bulletin on the forgotten war and post-Korean War. Oftentimes the Korean War is forgotten, and one story that emerges from the Korean War are the many orphans that came to the United States. And so there are some films that have been created. So Dr. Susie Wu recommended looking at the study guide, and I have the link right here, to access questions and background information to videos. And I thought this could be another fun activity where students have a chance to watch the video and then kind of respond, and there could be a discussion, maybe a Socratic seminar afterwards. I'm not usually into watching full-length films, but maybe there's one module where there could be a focus on this. So that could be a possibility of a lesson or portions of the video that are shared to kind of highlight a story that emerges from the Korean War and how it impacts Korean Americans. Another activity that I might be interested in trying out is from the presentation from Mr. Ernest Lee. He's connected with the Korean Friendship Bell Preservation Committee, and his presentation was on the historical background of the Korean Bell of Friendship, which is in San Pedro, and the relationship between the U.S. and Korea. We've all heard of the Statue of Liberty. So what is the similarities and differences between the Korean Bell of Friendship and the Statue of Liberty? So this could either be a real life field trip where you actually go to see the Bell of Friendship, or even a virtual field trip could be really powerful as well. That's another idea that I had. There's another presentation on the excellence of Korean history and culture through UNESCO Cultural Heritage from Dr. Hannah Lim. So we know Korea's history goes back 4,000, 5,000 years. And so what are some of the things that emerge are cultural heritage for Korea, but also the world? So what kind of activity might this look like in the class? So there was that presentation which highlighted a number of different places, but perhaps the students will form a tourism company and a travel itinerary to visit these UNESCO cultural heritages and then present on them as though they were there on site. That could be a fun activity. Another presentation, this is day 2 now, was from Dr. Carol Park from UCR on teaching Korean American history, immigration history, and the post-LA uprising and political awakening. I think that there's so much to learn from Sa-igu 429, the LA civil unrest. So what is the story of the civil unrest? I think there's so much that one can learn from that. And then how is that also a story of resilience for Korean Americans and for Americans? And how do we continue to build upon this story of resilience through civic action and engagement as students identify issues that they're passionate about? What could further action be to make a difference that the students feel that are important to them? Once again, it's about supporting the students in the issues that matter and are important to them. Another topic was Korean Patriot Dosan Changho and Pachapa Camp, the very first Korean American town in America, from Dr. Edward Chang from UCR. Once again, he is the author, along with Carol Park, of Korean Americans: A Concise History. And one question that emerged in my mind that I thought could be helpful for students is, how might Pachapakant, the first Korean American community, how did that community shape the democracy of Korea? So this is a very interesting Korean American story shaping the liberation and democracy of the Republic of Korea. And then also the role of Korean American women in all this. Oftentimes, when we think about various folks that are highlighted, sometimes in history there's a focus on men, but I think focusing on women also is very powerful, as they were instrumental in what are the stories of Korean American women who made an impact in this first Korean American community. That'd be a great story as well. I also had a chance to present at this conference, and so I definitely plan to integrate many of the things that I talked about. What another person shared that they wanted to try in their own class was the My Story, Photo Voice, ethnography lessons, and the oral histories, as these are applicable not just for our Korean American Studies course, but for any class that we teach as a way to community build, connect, and also build upon the 5 C's: communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, compassion. And then also in Ginny Shim from Fullerton School District's presentation on key facts and Korea's pop culture, K-pop drama, the Hallyu movement. So many educators mentioned how students are very interested in this. And so I think it's sometimes very helpful to begin with what it is that students are interested in. So what are students interested in? And then kind of beginning there, that could often be a gateway into more. So is K-pop the end of Korean and Korean American history? And no, it's certainly not the end, but it can be the beginning. And oftentimes when students are more motivated because they're interested, they're more inclined to learn more as well. So that could be an entry point for a lesson or a unit or a course of study. And then there's actually a student that was in the group that I was in that I really valued that student's voice. That student mentioned how when they were going through middle and high school, they were so excited to learn about Korean and Korean American history. But and so there was like maybe 1 or 2 days where they had the chance to do that, but it was so limited. And so that student wished that they could have learned more about their own story, their own history. And so it reminded me how the person closest to instruction, the person who's the most closest, is the student. And so it's very important to ask students their opinion, their thoughts, their voice, and then to think about how we can respond to support them, because education should work for the student, not the other way around. This is Dr. Jeff from Ed Family. My takeaways from the 2023 Korean History and Culture Seminar for Educators. Dr. Jeff signing out.